What's going on, everybody? My name is Ben Moreland. This is going to be the start of my new podcast. This is like my third or fourth time trying to start a podcast, but you know what? I've got all the confidence in the world right now. We'll see how long it's lived. Anyways, first of all, please excuse my messy room. It doesn't look this bad in person, I swear. I just feel like it looks really bad on camera. But anyways, that out of the way. Let's get started. Okay, so what is this gonna be? First of all, kind of podcast. Y'all saw the title. My least plan for calling this is gonna be calling this the Service-Based Business Podcast. That's a long name, but you get the idea. It's gonna be about the service industry. About providing us. There's two different ways that you can have a business. You can sell a product, or you sell a service. Those are like the main two, ways. Pretty much everything falls into those categories. Yes, I'm sure there are others, but those are like the main categories of a business. If you're selling a product, you're selling a service, and so if you're selling a service, you fall into like this podcast category, right? So that's mainly what we're going to be talking about. So, that's the long story short of it. I do hope to do like some episodes that are just like more like things I want to do, like interviews or whatever. Just me talking to different, people that are not like necessarily service-based business, but they're just things I want to do. So I do kind of hope to do a couple of those, things I'm interested in. They probably be a lot of them will probably be like agriculture or like cars and and stuff like that. Like that's all I'm interested in personally. So that's probably what those episodes would be about. But back on track to the service-based business part of this. What do I know about this? Like, why me, right? Like, why am I, why do I matter in this? Like, why does my opinion have any value? And I'll be honest with you, I'm learning a lot. Like, I am still in the very early stages. I'm not a long-term veteran to a service-based business. I've been doing this for about 3 years now, my own business. We'll get into the specifics of that in just a moment or two. But I've been doing this for about 3 years now. I would not say I have a lot of experience, but it's something I want to learn more about. It's something I'm learning about pretty much every day. Learning about ways to expand my own business personally, ways that I can make more money, things like that. And so I hope to provide some value. I think in these early episodes, a lot of it's going to be for beginners, for people who are just starting out their business. I feel like that's really where my value is going to be, because I've only been doing this for a few years. I feel like that's where a lot of my personal value is going to come from. Of course, if I'm having a conversation, then, I'm having conversations, different perspective. But as far as just me talking, I feel like my value is really going to come and be, I feel like my opinion and my things that I know are going to be really valuable for people who are just starting, mistakes that I've made, things I could do better, things I even now could do better. Maybe I still don't do them to the best that as good as I should, right? So anyways, me. Let's talk about me and my like I said, those 3 years of experience. So I started cutting grass when I was 14 years old. I am now 16. This season that I'm in right now, this is September right now. So it's like the end of my third season mowing lawns for money. When I was 14, me and my buddy, we were kind of trying to decide. We were trying to figure out some ways to make some money together during the summer. And one of the things we came up with was cutting grass. We were going to call ourselves Mo Money. That was our original business name. And me and him never actually ended up working together to cut grass, at least yet. But that was our original idea. But I liked the idea. That was one of the ideas we came up with. But anyways, I liked the idea, and I thought it was a good way for me to be able to make money. I had done a little bit of lawn mowing before, and I decided to do it and jump into it. And so the way that I did that was through Facebook. And so I had done a few jobs before. Let me let this a little bit backtrack a moment. I had done some lawn and cleanup and gutter jobs for someone who goes to my church. And so when I got started on Facebook, then I the first time Facebook, it's old people social media. Even at 14, I was saying that crap. But I got on there. Created a Facebook account, created a Facebook page. That was a learning experience. Is creating a Facebook page. Maybe talk about that another time when I feel that I can bring more value to that. But anyways, I started a Facebook page, Ben's Yard Service. That's what I'm called. And I posted in a neighborhood group that I could easily get into. I think I got I got maybe 2 or 3 people who messaged me, and they want, I was like, okay, sweet. I got a couple customers in my neighborhood. That lady who I'd done some work for church actually posted in her own neighborhood group, and through that I acquired one client who was started off just doing 1 property for her, and now I'm doing 3 for her, and then another property in that same neighborhood, and then I actually acquired a neighbor of one of those people and mowed for him for a year. So anyway, so I started off, I had 5, I think I had tops 5 jobs that I was doing for the season. I had 5 jobs that I was doing that year, I think. And I don't really remember much, to be honest with you, about that year. I just don't remember a whole lot about that year. Oh, you know what? That must have been COVID year. 2022. It would have been 2020. It would have been summer of 2020. So that season I must not have had very much. And I only had 5 lawns, and then as a freshman in high school, because I would have been becoming a freshman. I'm 16 now, and so I was on online school that year. So that's how I continued during the school years. I would just go after school, and I would go and do my jobs, and that was that. Must have been what I did. I don't really remember, to be honest with you. Anyways, then last season, I acquired quite a few more clients. I want to say I just used Facebook again. If I'm not mistaken, I must have just used Facebook. Dude, a lot of this is hard for me to keep track of. So anyways, I think I started using Facebook. I think I just used Facebook again. No. I'm lying. Okay, so I used Facebook again that year to acquire a few more clients. I also, that next year when I was 15, used Nextdoor. Nextdoor is a really great tool, and I'll probably get into that more at some point. But that was one other tool that I used, was Nextdoor. It's a neighborhood app if you don't know Nextdoor. I think I got at least 1 client off of Nextdoor, maybe 2. I have had more people reach out to me. I'm really bad at responding to that. We'll get to that another time. But anyways, that was, I did Nextdoor and Facebook, and I created a website. And creating a website is really something I recommend. It's going to give you a much more professional kind of look, and on top of that, it's a good experience that I feel like any teenager or any young person should learn. It's a skill, and so I definitely encourage you to make a website. But anyway, so I made a website, and I grew quite a bit that year. I think I must have doubled, had close to 10, 15, 20 clients that year. Last year, I think I had something like that, between 10, 15, somewhere between 10 and 20 customers that I was mowing lawns for. I might have had more that first year. Again, it's all a little blurry to me, but anyways, so I got more jobs. I was 15, so I didn't have my license, so I would take my dad with me, and we would go cut grass. He would go and walk the dog those nights. And then I was working another job in that summer. I was working another job 3 days a week, and so then once or twice a week, I'd actually go with my grandma, load my lawnmower and electric string trimmer. I actually had a gas string trimmer that year, but string trimmer, blow our gas cans into the trunk of our Toyota Camry, which is in excellent condition, by the way. And we would go and we cut grass, go cut lawns, and that was that. And she would go with me because I had my permit, but I just didn't have my license. So anyways, and this past summer has really been the first year of me running things. Of course, I've been able to drive, so I've really been running things myself this summer. And I didn't grow a whole lot this year. Part of that is definitely my own fault. I do feel like I could have done better about my marketing. But I also was working another job this summer, 4 days a week. So almost, like 3/4 time, basically. And I think it would have been really hard to add too many more clients. The work balance would have been very difficult because I was basically working 12-hour days almost, 4 days a week this summer. Or I guess 3 days a week. I was working like an hour away from home, 8 hours shift. So 10 to 3 hours rowing, I guess the drive time doesn't actually count as working, but my days were long. I didn't have a lot of free time in the summer. But anyways, yeah. So that's what I've been doing. I've done snow. I do snow as well. I think I've done 2 seasons of snow removal. I actually just bought a gas snow blower for myself. I've been using my dad's electric one, but I decided I needed one for myself. I don't want to take the nice new one out and use it. It's in good shape. It should hopefully last my dad for a long, long time. So I don't want to. Yeah. So anyways, that's a little bit about me and my experience in lawn care in the service-based business industry. Some things, that are things that I know about do transfer to other sectors of service industry, of the service-based businesses. But a lot of my stuff, I know the landscaping kind of jobs, or industry, I guess. Cutting grass, gutters. Maybe that doesn't. I don't know if that counts as landscaping. Gutters, snow removal, those kinds of things. Those are things that I know. Mowing. Those are the things that I am probably most knowledgeable about. Those are the things that I have the most experience in. So that's a little bit about my background. One thing I want to go a little more into depth about. I'm going to go into a little bit more depth about my marketing real quick, because I feel like my marketing has been pretty good when I've really tried. I've had multiple people tell me that they like my marketing. So I'm gonna go into the base and then a little more detail. So obviously I talked about I used Facebook. I literally have just found a free app on my phone or something online where I can just type in some words against a solid color basically, and that was my ad. And not that people loved that per se, but that's how I recommend you to, if you're really looking for something basic, that's what I did. It's free. Adobe Express is actually something I use just to make an ad that I'm going to post soon. So Adobe Express is really good too because it's for things like Canva. Adobe Express, things like that. You can make. I believe they have Facebook posts, Instagram post kinds of templates. They already have the right aspect ratio or whatever for those posting, because Instagram, it's 1:1. It's not like you're going to make a 9:16 thing or it's going to be crop funny. That kind of stuff sucks. So those kinds of things, Adobe Express, Canva, you can do really basic, or you can go a little bit more advanced with those as well if that's really something you like to do. I'll be honest, I'm not a super creative person. I don't really care to make my ads make them super pretty. I don't care too much. I want to get my point. I want to get my point across. Of course, some level of detail is important. But anyways, as far as making an ad goes, that's what I've done. But so yeah, I posted those kinds of ads on Facebook. That's usually the ad type that I use. A few of them I always post in neighborhood groups. Groups that I'm in my neighborhood. I'm in these neighborhood groups because they're in my I live there. And so what you just go and you just post and you talk about yourself, and you can put your business email. Say email me. You can put your, if you have like a text now or Google Voice number. Those are really, I'm just now getting one actually for my business, because I look for my lawn care business. I looked into it for a different business that I was thinking about doing. And so I'm just now getting a number that I'm gonna actually be my business number. Don't post your personal number. Don't do that. But anyways, if you're just starting out and you're looking for something free or cheap to get a second phone number, text now. I don't know that much about Google Voice, but those are great tools to get free numbers. You can put on there, text, call, right? Again, if you have a website, put a website on there. Just say, here's so you can contact me. This is what I do, and that's simple. That's what I did for Facebook. And Nextdoor, I literally just made a word post, I think. And I was just like, this is what I am. I might have done a picture. I don't really know. It's like, this is what I am. I'm looking to take on a few more clients. Message me, email me, text me, whatever. Right? So that's kind of the basic of it, of what I've done for like posting. This actual past spring, I posted a proper Facebook ad for the first time. I actually spent money on marketing. This was like the first time I ever really spent money on marketing, excluding my website. And I don't really know I don't think I really gained any clients from that, but I think it was a good little trial, good little experiment. But yeah. So website. Talk about website for a little bit. My website, there's a lot of information out there about websites. You can use Shopify or this or that. I mean, Shopify might not be the best for like a service-based business, but you get the idea. Like, there's lots of different kinds. Wix, there's WordPress, there's Square, there's all these different website making tools out there. And so finding something can be hard. Finding like the right tool can be hard. It can be kind of overwhelming, if you will. And so what I recommend is just finding. I personally used his name is Web Yoda, I believe, and it was like a 3-hour YouTube video where he made a WordPress website with Elementor, and I literally just used some, he has like some basic templates that he used for, they're his own, and you can download them for free from his website. And I kind of, I basically just followed this. I used, of course, another thing with websites is hosting. You have to have this website hosted, and that can be, again, overwhelming. There's lots of different kinds of hosting options. Some websites may have hosting included, whatever, and so it can be overwhelming, because it can be, oh my gosh, there's all this information. So I recommend you just follow a YouTube video. Find like a longer tutorial that's in depth, follow it. If you go, and then use that as like a base. Say, okay, he used, again, for my, I use HostGator for my hosting and WordPress for my website. And so if I went and I really didn't like HostGator or something, of course, because this guy like Web Yoda, for example, had promo codes or whatever, that I could get a really good deal on these. So that's an added benefit, depending on who you go with, is what YouTube video you're watching, is you might be able to get promo codes that give you really good discount. So I got a really good discount for your web hosting and for your website. That's a really important thing. And these guys are going to talk about all the good things about these, the hosting service or the website service. And so you're going to hear a lot of like the benefits. Of course, you might not hear the negatives. I would do a little bit of research, just make sure, there's not like tons and tons of bad reviews or something about whatever hosting service it is or website service it is, whatever. But, and then just watch the tutorial through. You can be doing something else while you're watching it. You don't got to pay too much attention, but like you want to, pick up on some of the basic information that they're relaying and teaching in that course video. And then you can go back. You could figure out, okay, what do I need? What kind of information do I need to get for the website, for making this website? Once you've decided that that's a good idea, the way this guy does it, I like, right? He used tools that seem easy, all this stuff, right? And so once you do that, you can figure out, okay, I'm going to have a contact, I'm going to have a home page. what kind of information do I need on my homepage? Maybe I want a picture of this, and I need to type out this. And so go into Google Doc, just type. All right, you can do all that stuff beforehand, before you make any big purchases. You can do all that information, get all the information done, a lot of your writing done first. And I would encourage that before you go and you buy your stuff, or before you have time to sit down and follow that 3-hour video and make your website. You can do a lot of the work beforehand, and that's going to make it go quicker. And you'll only spend, you only will probably spend 3 hours making your website or something, as opposed to it taking you 5 hours, because here you're following the tutorial, you pause the video, you go do the thing, watch the video, pause it, go do the thing, and then here you've got to type and blah blah blah, and that gives you a little more time when you're designing your website to just think about the designing more and less about the actual content of your site. You're not gonna think about it quite as much because you've already done some of that work. At least that's what I did. So maybe that's terrible. I don't know. Anyways, so that's my expertise on websites. Again, I think it took me maybe 3, 4, 5 hours total to make my website. Definitely recommend it. Some other specific things that I have used. Of course, I used again, I said HostGator for my hosting, WordPress for my website, software, and I use a plugin called Elementor to actually design my web pages. Elementor is pretty easy. I like it, so that's what I use. And then for my contact, because there's different ways you can do contact stuff, I use Ninja Forms. It allowed me to make my own custom contact form, and for $50 to $100 a year, you can actually pay, and they will make sure that you get an email for every time someone fills out a form. And so especially if you're running ads year round, or you're not just running an ad for a week, and so for maybe 2 weeks, you've got to make sure you check, because otherwise you got to go and manually check your site every day to see if you get any submissions for your forms. And that was something that I still have not yet paid for Ninja Forms, but it is an option. It's probably actually something that I'm going to be investing in actually this winter or next summer spring, is that Ninja Forms, where they email you, so that I don't miss submissions, because I have missed submissions. They'll be a month later, and I go and I decide to look, and it's never good, because someone will have submitted a form, and I could have another job, but because I was lazy and because I didn't go check, I face those consequences. One thing I will say though, about if you're going to do that and try and save some money, just be aware. I would try to check it weekly, because one thing I've had Nextdoor posts that will continue to get a little bit of traffic. So just be aware of that. Specifically if you're using Nextdoor or whatever, something to, be aware of is that. So I would encourage you to check it at least once a week minimum, always, if you're not going to pay for the service where they send you an email if you get a form submission. All right, so now I kind of want to talk about marketing myself. This is a little bit more specific. And so some things that I've done, how have I marketed myself? That's kind of the question that I'm going to be answering, is how have I marketed myself in my business? And I think I've done it in a really successfully corny way. If you go onto my website, you will see that my About Me section is about myself. It's about, or the About section, or the homepage, or whatever, right? It's about me. And so I talk about myself being a high school student. This is my way of earning extra cash on the side, and of expressing my entrepreneurship. Something that I love is being an entrepreneur. I like running my own kind of business, making my own money type stuff. And so I say on my website, it's one of my ways of expressing that, and people like that. Apparently, I've had multiple people compliment me. They really like my marketing and the way I market myself. And so I think that if you're a teenager, especially, that can be a really good way of marketing yourself, is kind of playing into that a little bit, being that kid entrepreneur, kids cutting grass. And I think it really it's an option when you're a teenager. to market yourself in that way. Obviously, once you get to be 18, and you're having an actual legal entity, and you've got a lot more. It can be you can't market yourself that way anymore, but it can be a good way of starting out when you're young, especially if you don't know if you're going to continue to do this when you're older. Like if you think, oh, I'm just going to start for this summer, or do it for until I'm 18, right? That's always kind of been my oh, I'm going to do this till I'm 18, and I'm at this point in my life where I'm considering doing this for a while. It wouldn't be the thing I'd want to do for my entire career, but it's something I'm considering, right? I was doing this for a longer period of time, but what I will say is that you can market yourself in that way of, oh, I'm a teenager, and people like that. Adults, they don't mind that. Having that kind of, like that marketing works, is basically what I'm saying. So, you can feel free to kind of take a little bit of that and do it yourself. You're a kid cutting grass and being an entrepreneur and stuff, and I think that works well if you do it correctly. And I think some of that is you have to, you wanna. It's hard to balance that with professionalism. Is hard. I will say, sometimes we want to be seen as, especially as kids, we want to be seen as adults, and we might want to be seen professionally, and it can be. You might have to balance those two things if you're going to go that route of being, I'm a teenager, whatever. But I think it also gives me some freedom a little bit to be, of course I'm a solo operator. I'm doing this myself, right? I don't have somebody else who's working with me, or doing the routes with me. And so, I can, a little bit, school, I can change those. I don't feel as bad changing like the days of the week that I'm going to come mow because of the school year. For example, I've been doing, it's it's a neighborhood that's about 10, 15 minutes away from my house. All right, away from like my other properties basically, right? And so I go and I mow there and do those all in one day. But it's not really enough for me to do after, like it's too much for me to do after school because I don't usually get started until I get home from school about 4:20, 4:30. And then by the time my dad has to get home, my dad has to make dinner. I eat dinner. By that time, it's almost 6 o'clock usually. By the time that I get started mowing grass, and I admit that I could be more efficient. I could take my food, and I could take and make food before and go. That would save me time. I will admit that, but which I might end up having to do in a few weeks. It might get pretty bad because it starts to get dark pretty early eventually. But because that's the thing is, once school starts, I'm fighting daylight. So those jobs that I did on, that one day a week where I was, maybe I spent 3-4 hours, doing all those jobs, I can't spend that time after school and have the daylight to cut the grass. So, being, having that I'm just, I'm a kid cutting grass, kind of having that as my business and how I'm seen is I have a little bit, I think, of flexibility to be like, hey, school's starting up. I'm not going to be able to come do all the jobs in this neighborhood. Would it be cool if we moved to Saturday? Would it be cool if we moved to Sunday? Whatever, right? And I think that people are going to be a little bit more flexible and understanding because they hired you as, you're a kid. And I think that it also comes into some downsides. Keep that in mind is you're probably not going to be able to charge as much. You're going to be able to still charge good. I'm not saying that you can't charge a fair amount of money for your service. I'm not saying that you have to charge you have to be the $20 a lawn guy. I'll admit that's kind of where I'm at is $20 a lawn right now. And I'm, my goal is to raise those prices, within the next few years. But so something you have to keep in mind too, is there are downsides to marketing yourself as a teenager as well as, you're not going to be able to probably charge $50 a lawn. Of course, you don't. Why would you? Keep that in mind. Like, you don't have insurance unless you somehow have, an LLC or something when you're a minor. I can't in my state, so I have to wait till I'm 18 in order to have that. But so I can't have insurance. So keep that. I mean, there's downside. Just to keep those things in mind as well. When you are thinking about marketing yourself that way, I would say how much you can charge per lawn is a little bit capped. Not necessarily, of course, but just something to think about. All right, I want to kind of start to wrap up with some tips I have for success for people who are maybe new to the lawn care business, to the service industry, specifically like the work that I do. But I think it can be applied to other kinds of service industry as well. Tips, maybe you're doing junk removal, or you're doing, I don't know, maybe you are doing power washing, or maybe you're older and you're not like a kid. Maybe you're friggin' 20 or something, and you're doing you're sealing sealing driveways, or whatever it is you're doing, right? Keep that in mind. So hopefully these are pretty general tips. Some of these might be, no, these are all pretty good tips for anyone in the service industry. You're doing something along those lines where you're providing a service. They're pretty simple tips, but they're things that I feel like I often have not been good at, and so I think they're important. Just like when you're starting out, like, you have to do these things. If you want to be successful, these are the things that you really got to try and make sure you're doing. So the first one is just to be responsive. When someone contacts you, calls you, texts you, text them back as soon as you can. Call them back as soon as you can. Answer the phone when they call. Assuming you can, right? Like, answer the phone. Okay. Got to be responsive. Got to be communicative. That's really important. Customers value that. It's one thing that I maybe actually am overly communicative sometimes. Sometimes maybe I communicate too much. But I will say it's very important to be responsive to your customers, to email, check those forms, right? That's one thing I talked about a little bit earlier, is I didn't always do that. And so it's important that, I go and I do that. I check those forms that I contact, because when you have your business gets older and older, and you start to, your reputation starts to matter more and more as you grow your business. And so having a bad reputation, you don't want a bad reputation. So be responsive, be communicative. That is kind of my first tip. Second tip, again, these are pretty obvious tips, but don't procrastinate. Okay, if you know you need to post an ad, or you need to write an email, or you need to to keep track of, okay, I went and I did this service today. Don't procrastinate those things. Literally, after I get out this podcast, I have to go do that stuff, because I've been somewhat procrastinating doing it. But got to do it. Get it done. It's going to help in the long run. When you don't know if when you check your PayPal or whatever, and you don't know if someone's paid you for the past 2 mows or the past 2 jobs or whatever, especially if you have those, if you're doing something where you're coming out every week or you're coming out every month or something, it's really important to keep track of your finances, especially when you're young. If your own personal finances and your business finances are the same, obviously, like when you have like a real business, you want to keep those separate. And it's, of course, then it's very important that you keep your finances straight. But like when you're a teenager and you've just got a stack of cash that your mowing money, right? You need to make sure that everyone's been paying you right and paying you one time and these kinds of things. So keep track of your finances. Very important. And the fourth one is pretty obvious as well. Very important one, though. Do a damn good job. All right? Do a good job. Make sure, you're cutting grass. Make sure your blades are sharp. Go the extra mile. Take care of your customers. These are important things to do. It's just take care of your customers and do a good job. All right? Because when you do that, your reputation obviously is going to be better. People are going to be much more likely to refer you to someone else, and you gain another client. And the nice thing about referrals is sometimes those are jobs that can be a neighborhood. Someone can refer you to their neighbor. Guess what? That's neighbor referrals are amazing, because they're going to be close. You're not going to, there might not, sometimes you might be marketing, you post an ad or something, you might get a job that's in another neighborhood. It's like, you don't have any other properties that you really service in the neighborhood. It's like, I want to take that job because it's good money, but it's also far out. I have one of those a job like that. It's like I like that job. I like managing, doing that property, but it's a ways out for me, and it sucks, So if I get, off of that, I do that. I have one of those customers, and then I do a real good job, neighbor referral, pick up another job up there. Suddenly, I'm actually more profitable doing both of those properties. I'm more profitable now. So do a good job. It's pretty obvious. Obviously, people are going to let you go if you're not doing a good job. So do a good job. Final thing. Maybe I already mentioned this in the beginning, but what is this podcast going to be? That is kind of the next, I feel like that's how we're going to end this, is what will this podcast be? And so basically what I want to have in the future is guests on who will come and talk about their service-based business, and maybe some of that is, maybe their advice will be more general. That applies to a lot of business owners, service-based business owners, and some of it might be more niche. Some of it might be more, for me, for example, might have a niche episode that's talking about specifics of cutting grass, or getting started cutting grass, or getting started doing snow, or whatever, right? And, we might have more of those people coming in with getting started with a power washing business, or, some real niche things about, Christmas lights or something, right? So, I would like to have some of those kind of guests on, but a lot of this is going to be I want a lot of this to be value for everyone who is in the service-based business industry, but as well, of course, provide specific high value to those niche audiences, for the junk removal guys, or for the lawn care guys, or for the detailing guys, right? Providing that kind of niche value is what I like to do, through bringing in guests eventually. So, anyways, I hope I feel like that was a really good first episode. I feel like it was flowing pretty well, if you ask me. I've been going for almost 40 minutes now. Whew. Oh boy, that's what I can say. Anyways, I hope you guys did enjoy. If you guys did, leave a comment for me, because I love to hear feedback and stuff. I want to hear your guys' feedback. What kind of things would people be interested in seeing? Of course, this is, I'm just going to hope that I actually keep doing this podcast. That's my goal, is to keep doing this. But, sometimes I'm not very good about that. So, anyways, I hope you guys enjoy. If you guys did, I will, if you guys did, comment, subscribe if you're really feeling like I am cool. And hopefully I'll see you guys next week. Peace.